right here. Yep, she wanted WhatsApp it out.
Don't worry, you could also, if you want, if they have a WhatsApp, you can WhatsApp it out.
welcome everybody to the Chasna of Doby and Chaya. We want to welcome all our guests who came from out of town. We're going to begin with writing the Tanoim. The witnesses for Tanoim are Mr. Yehuda Chumek from Chicago and Rav David Grinker from Des Plaines. Not to be confused with Chicago.
Shumak, before you drink.
Witnesses now. Take your yarmulke. Okay, lift it. It's yours. It's yours. Now, okay, you're going to be the witnesses. We're first going to go to the chassan. Turn the thing. Turn around. Lift it up, which both of you see it. And you will cover all the things as in the time.
I think so.
No.
Yes. Don't play games.
No. You will cover this in
Yes.
time. Okay, lift it. Okay, give back to him. Okay, now give it to the father of the chassan. Lift it. You will cover everything as in the time. Lift up. Okay. Now give it back to the father of the Kala.
We're witnesses.
Okay.
Fred's trying to get in.
Lift it up. Now, then one for the Kala, you have a shliach. Another time, you lift it up.
First time was for me.
Now, okay. You look at so let me just look at this. Today is Thursday, 17th of Achas, Long Man Massachusetts. The name is Doby. Father's name is Menachem Ephraim. Father's name is Chaya Mushka, daughter of Chaim Roth. I'm telling her to be a wife, and I'll take care of her in the Jewish ways. Take all the Chazal Echim Deraisa, and also three things: sustenance, garments, and needs. Those are the three things you mentioned to, and that's always now. And you also, wherever she brings her father's house, Shadira, all these things, you will cover upon yourself. According to her, regardless of what she brings in, 200 zuz, 200 zuz, and this is a chrayas 100%. It's a chrayas being property which has full responsibility. You are Arab, even from the garments which you're wearing, meaning you're responsible. My person's life and afterlife, you're obligated to this money. The ksubah and all the severity of the ksubah, the three things you commit to a woman, right? And all the and financial responsibility is not as smart. It's not like something like some kind of arrangement or a document that's a legal document, a standing document. And in a moment, have an opinion from you to the color, which is hers. She has to, if she loses it, she has to go to the right. Only one.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah. And all things 100% agreed upon, right? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Rabbi, one of you lift it up to you. It's yours. See? Okay, now, give it to the chassan. You can see, 1 second. Lift it, you commit to everything says in Suba? Yes. Lift it higher up. See, both of you? Yes. Okay.
Okay, we can just leave it to us. See, that's much Zoe did it to us. We could just leave it to us. Zoe.
Right? I'll go with the Shachmai.
Mavam Shukla now, I met Bit like Kala now, it's suddenly can Nazam Bit like Kala now, my punners, my cousin now, I got him Bit like Kala now, Mila Gan, medium, for some of them, Sass in the Kia, here's the Jamba Shot, Game Attack was man, and Martin Fisher, and nothing to find, or pages, two of the abundance. The bottom is abundant. You have Kazan Sandwich, please Zammer, and Nito, Matsai, Chicken, Gideon, Kala, Kipple, Akuli, Air Comments at a thoughts, at a Chaim, Shalom, Shukla, Bed, Rabbanat, and Simon Shukla, Air Comments with Kala, Rabbanat, Medal, Amen, Kara, Chaim, Ram, Jekya. I said in Manam, Yom, Raven, Rabbanim, and now, Roya, Deal, and Shum Hazek, Garim Hazek, Mina, Gadim, Mina, Raven, Kabana, Mina, Hassan, Kala, now, Al, Sol, Hassan, Al, the Mana, the Hassan, Kanya, Bay, Akol, Shudder, the Kayo, the Canal, Nasib, Nasib, Kias, Kab, the Kingdom, Gummer, Agab, Sudder, Befalafin, Jason, Royal, P, Tass, and their signal, and just a minute to take it, Nayam, Mishanim, and Higon, the shows that many agents are still in Mata, Hayar, again, Shabbos, we also Yar, Makada, Sugar, Shnaz, Foundation, the Wasp, the 7 years, to Shwine Bakas, the Tiro, Bono, Custom, Yarim, Custom, again, now, Turn now, Oregon, on Meadow, Massachusetts, Noam, David, Ben, Sri, Isaac, Makai, 8, Noam, Yehuda, Mayor, Ben, Tzia, 8.
Hey, it's for you. Should I hold it for you? Anyone?
I mean, I'm not gonna hold it.
Yeah. Okay.
Come, my beloved, to meet, and together we will welcome Shabbos. So, we know in the realm that the chassan daim lamelech, the chassan is compared to a king, and the kala is compared to a queen. Who is the chassan? The chassan is the Eibishter. Who's the kala? Is Knesset Yisrael. So, this is referring to Knesset Yisrael and the Eibishter. So this is in regards to all mashpiyim and makabel. Every place there's a mashpiyim and makabel, there's a connection that's being done. So, and what's the idea is that Zah is also connection to Zah and Nukva. Zah is being mamshech into Nukva. So, as we see in this pasuk, there first needs to be a halicha, which is a going, which is a chutzanistic concept. Then there needs to be a pneumistic concept, which is to accept Shabbos. So, in regards to all mashpiyim makabel, there's this idea of you first have to have a chutzanistic connection in order that will bring you to the pneumistic connection. So the Videographer brings two mashalim on this. So one mashal is a rav that is a mentor to a student, and a father that is playing and enjoying his time with his little child. So the mashalim are not just brought here to tell you that there's the mashpia is giving to the makabel. The mashalim here are trying to emphasize the idea that the makabel adds in the mashpia, and not only there's a makabel in certain aspects, it's being mashpia back into the makabel. So, although it's just a chutzanistic thing, and it's only there to bring it to the pneumius, but at the end of the day, it is a necessary step and an important step that adds into the mashpia. And this is also why in Yeshaya it says kol kavod chuppah. What's the lashon rabbin kavod chuppah? This is referring to every chuppah. There's the chuppah. In the chuppah, there's two components. Every single one is honored. It's the chassan and the kala. It's not just an independent thing. So we're going to go a little deeper into the mashalim. So the first mashal we mentioned was the mashpia rav l'talmud. As we know in the Gemara, says that before they would give a drasha, they would say like a little bit of a which literally means like a light-headed conversation or a like a vart or a joke or whatever, and this would allow them to connect on when they were getting into the pneumistic, into the real Gemara, a much deeper way. So you see the same concept here, where you first have to have this chetzoniistic thing, where like a little bit of a joke or a little bit of a lightheaded conversation that brings out the pneumius. So we could see, we know that schayk comes from the etzem hatainug. Etzem hatainug is actually one of the highest levels. In fact, the tainug pasha that comes from the simple joy that comes from just a joke, from schayk, from real pure joy, is a higher level than the joy that comes from limud Torah. So on this concept, we see that actually the joke, the chetzoniistic concept, is higher than the pneumistic concept. But at the end of the day, it's not. It's just chetzonius. As we know that there's two levels in tainug. There's tainug ha'atzmi ha'bilti morgish, where you don't even know why you're happy. Then there's a tainug ha'morkav that's morgish. We understand what it is. It's because you're learning, or you said a joke. So yeah, it might be pure joy, but you understand what's happening. The ultimate level is to have it without the understanding of what it is. It's just a plain and simple happy. Because when you're plain and simple happy, nothing is going to uproot it. When there's a reason that you're happy, if the reason disappears, you're no longer happy. So in order to get that, so now we understand that the limud Torah is going to bring you to that level. Because the schayk, yes, it is a higher level than the joy that comes through the Torah, but in the end of the day, the Torah is going to ultimately bring you to a joy where it's built in mortgage. There's no reason for it. Fine. And we continue on. It says, where the teacher, in the equation of this Rav and Talmud, the person who learns the most is the Rav. The Rav learns the more than the student does. And this is the idea that the Makabel is giving back to the Mashpia. The second mashal is when a child, when a father wants to play with his child. So, physically speaking, when a father wants to play with a little kid, he literally has to lift up the kid, or he has to get down on his knees and play with the kid. This is just a chetzoniistic action, but that action is what leads him to be able to deal with this and have fun with his kid. So, the Frierdiker Rebbe didn't bring the idea, but there's more to the mashal. The other part of the mashal is that when you're holding the kid, he plays with the beard. And the beard represents the Yud Gimel Tikkun Dikna, which is the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim. Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim are higher than the Shtalshalos. So this chetzoniistic action is a very high level, because it's higher than the Shtalshalos. But in the end of the day, it's still just a chetzoniistic action, because in the end of the day, it's Cyrus. Cyrus is just a Ara Bovad. It's only it's not the Etzem. But through that action, you come to the Pneumius. And you learn from these two Mashalim is that it's not just a Mashpia to Makabel. There's a Makabel that is adding in the Mashpia also, even if it's just a Chetzoniistic level. And this same idea exists in our daily Avodah. We start off the day with the Tefillah. Why do we start off the day with the Tefillah? It says in the pasuk that, basically, and you're not, bama means, what is it worth? But you don't read it bama, you read it like a bama, which a bama means an unsanctioned mizbeach. And the pasuk is telling you that before tefillah, you're not really connected to the Eibishter. What you're doing is not really connected. So through tefillah, which is lashon iskabrus, which is bringing you connected to the Eibishter. Yes, we're doing a chetzoniistic action by tefillah, but that tefillah is what's going to allow us to be connected to the Eibishter in a pneumistic way. And it's not only going to be just for the tefillah part of it, it's going to be for the whole rest of the day. And we see another component of this. We know that the Ach Gadol, the firstborn, is the closest to its source, and therefore you have to respect them. And according to some opinions, that's even part of the mitzvah of Kabit Etzavicha, is respecting the firstborn son, because it is the closest. It is the closest to the father. But for that, you see, the idea is that whatever this beginning starts with, that's how the rest of the day is going to end. And that goes in whether it's Machshiva, Doby, or Maaseh, and whether it's Tefillah. The way you start off the day is the way the day is going to go. The closest to that connection to the Eibishter, the closer you are to that connection, the longer that effect is. The effect is stronger, closer to the source. So basically, how the day starts is how the rest of the day is going to go. So, this, to bring it all back, this is all the idea of Zoh and Nukva being Mamshech to Nukva. Yeah. Which is Malchus. Malchus comes from a higher level than Zoh. Zoh, yes, it seemingly it appears to be a higher level than Nukva because it's being mashpia into the Nukva, but its source is much higher. And how do we? Because its source is so much higher, it's not being mamshich, it's not being accepted into the kli of the lower level of Nukva. That's why it appears to be lower, because its source is too high for it. But that's the whole idea of the chitzonistic connection, because the Zoh is going to help to reveal that source of Malchus, which is Nukva. And even more is like a Rav LaTalmud. Why is the Ravs get so much out of the Talmud? Because through the Ravs teaching the son or teaching the student, he himself is becoming a smarter person. As we say that the best your students are the best person you learn from. So same thing when it comes to Zoh and Nukva. Through being mashpia to the Makabel, the Makabel is in return being revealing its essence, which is a higher source than Zoh. And we see that very similar thing by Shabbos. On the one hand, Shabbos is considered a Malchus. Malchus is, which is the same thing as Nukva, but it appears to be the lowest level of the spheres down here. It's the lowest level. And more so, it says that Shivas, for 7 days we prepare for Shabbos. So the 7 days are the other, the 6 days are the other spheres that are preparing for Shabbos. So, and Malchus is low. So what does it mean that we're preparing for Shabbos? And then, on the flip side, it says that Shabbos gives koiches to the rest of the week. Is Shabbos the lowest level, where the 6 days are preparing for it? Or is it the highest level, where it's able to give chayes to the next 6 days? So, the truth is Malchus has a much higher source. But that's the vart. Through the 6 days of preparing for the Malchus, you bring out in Malchus how it is so much higher, which then in turn flips back and gives chayes to the other 6 weeks. So you see this idea where the mashpia is giving chayes to the makabel, but it's on the flip, because you're revealing its essence, it's giving back chayes to the mashpia. So that is the idea of likor doidi likor kala pnei Shabbos nekabel, is that basically the lashon alichas, or we're asking the Eibishter that, because the Eibishter is considered the chasen, that we're asking the Eibishter, please join with us and reveal to us pnei Shabbos nekabel, the show basically the atzmos umahus, and this is also connected to the chasen and kala, because as we know that chasen and kala is obviously mashpia mekabel, and we know that Eishes Chayil Teres Baila is that they're adding in addition to us, just like any other concepts of mashpia mekabel, the wife is adding into the chasen, and with this, we should be zeichet that the b'derech yisharim yivarech banim b'nei aiskim b'teres mitzvahs. Through this union of a chasen and kala, atzmos were revealed, and it will be for generations until many generations. And amen. Well done. You understood it?
that the marriage will establish between the groom, the bride, and their families. Tradition tells us that the forebearers of the bride and groom descend from the world of truth to attend and participate in the wedding of the family. So the grandparents, Mr. Moshe Brown, Rabbi Yitzchak and Reitze Kasovsky, Charles and Carrie Emanuel, Ben and Irene Ilan, although they may not be here physically, but spiritually they are very much here, rejoicing and getting nachas from both of you. The bride and groom are welcome to the chuppah. The Mi'adir will be sung by Peretz Ben Chayun of Chicago, Illinois, a friend of the groom, who will be honored with singing this welcome. The Lubavitcher Rebbe would customarily respond to wedding invitations with a letter of blessing to the bride and groom. As a true leader, we are sure that now too, the Rebbe continues to pray on behalf of and bless world Jewry, and tonight, our bride and groom. Rabbi Noach Kasovsky, Shliach of the Rebbe to Western Massachusetts, Director of LYA, and uncle of the bride, will be honored with reading the letter that the Rebbe sent in honor of Rabbi Chaim and Rachalea Kasovsky's wedding. Rabbi Yoel Wolf of Chicago, Illinois, a shliach at Seymour J. Abrams Cheder Lubavitch Hebrew Day School, and a study partner of the groom, is honored with reading the English translation of the letter.
Shalom bracha b'mayna agda kvias malchus nasam v'yom haba leinu l'teva. Hineni b'zeh l'bia brachasi brachas mazel tov shetia b'shal tov mislachas yivnu bayis b'Yisrael bin ben adiyad hayuseda hater mitzvah kvishim u'orim b'mara shebetera zui teres hachasidus b'brachas mazel tov b'tzim sad kosher. Yep. By the grace of God, Brooklyn, New York, greetings and blessings. A reply to your notification of the date of your wedding to take place with God's help. I send you herewith my prayerful wishes that it take place in a happy and auspicious hour, and that you build an everlasting Jewish home based on the foundations of the Torah and mitzvahs, as they are illuminated with the inner light of the Torah, that is the teachings of Chassidus. With blessings of Mazel Tov, the Rebbe Sikha.
We all extend our blessings and good wishes to the bride and groom. We would also like to extend to them the Birchat Kohanim, the priestly blessing which is recorded in the Torah. This blessing will be recited by the Kohanim. Reb David Grinker of Des Plaines, Illinois, a close friend of the Kosovsky family, Rabbi Mendy Cohen, a friend of the Kosovsky family, and Rabbi Label Shimon, a shliach of the Rebbe in Atlantic City, New Jersey, a friend of the groom.
Vaydaber Adonai Moshe Lemor, Daber Adonai Rabbanov Lemor, Kodesh Baruch Hu Es Bnei Yisrael Arbahem, Yivarechecha Adonai V'Yishmerecha, Yonei Adonai Panav Elecha V'Yishmerecha, Yisa Adonai Panav Elecha V'Yasin Lecha Sholem, V'Shamu Hashmiel Bnei Yisrael V'Yam Baruchem.
The essential feature of a chuppah is when the groom places a ring on the finger of his bride. It is traditional to use a simple gold band, expressing the singularity of this moment and its depth, which is beyond any form of description. Before the ring ceremony, a blessing is recited which consecrates the moment and the marriage. Rabbi Baruch Hertz, Rav of the Chabad community in Chicago, and Rabbi of Congregation B'nai Ruvain, and a close friend of the Emanuels and the Kosovskis, will now make the officiating blessing which declares the sanctity of the marriage. Serving as the witnesses this evening are Mr. Levi Stoll of Chicago, Illinois, a friend of the groom, and Rabbi Mendy Cohen, with the exclusion of all others.
Who's you?
This is your ring, right? Yeah. Lift it up, make sure it's yours. But the picture is yours. Okay. Show the witnesses that the ring has a worth of put on. You see it? Now, I always say the brachos. Coffee, not just have in mind to raise the brachos. Following that, you put it start saying and don't leave go till you finish. Obviously they gotta see because it's so loud. Sagriver Alam, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei pi haggafa.
Amen.
Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kidushanu mitzvayisal, V'tzivonu al harayos, V'asalanu es harusais, V'hitid lanu es hanesuyos lanu al yidei chutva v'kiddushin. Baruch Atah Adonai, Mekadesh Am Yisrael Al Dei Chuppah V'Kiddushim.
Amen.
A chuppah has two parts. The first is called kiddushin, when the groom places
Say it loud enough, start saying it. Okay, so you can go see.
Hare at Mikudesh asleep at the Bab Zoy Kedas Moshe Yisrael.
A chuppah has two parts. The first is called kiddushin, when the groom places the ring on the finger of his bride. Though they legally become husband and wife at that point, there is a second process known as nisuyim, which requires chuppah and 7 blessings before the marriage becomes complete. The ketubah, which was instituted over 2,000 years ago, is the first historical marriage document which addresses and protects the rights of a woman in marriage. Written in Aramaic, it delineates both the personal and financial responsibilities which the groom accepts upon himself as they enter into the relationship. The ketubah will now be read in the original Aramaic text by Rabbi Chaim Prus, head shliach of the Rebbe to Eastern Massachusetts and an uncle of the bride.
בחמישי בשבת 17 יום לחידש 16 בשנ"ס 15 רובים פעמייס ושמונים באחס לפרסיילון במניין של המניו כאן מוגמנטו מסצ'וסטס כשהבוך הדובר בן מנחם אפרים שיחיה אומר לו חצופה חיים מושקה בסרב חיים שיחיה חיים אברהם שיחיה אבל לאנטק das Menschen bis heute war noch Fallach Weke Weise befangen sich lege für gewöhnliche Judein בפולחין ומכירים בזונים ובחנוסים ונשאים בקושטו. אבינו לכם הרב שלייכי כסבזוזו מסור וחוזר לכם מדי רייסה. שנייכי סוסייכי וסיפוקייכי מיעל ובסייכי כרב כל הרב. צבי אסמור שחיים מושקו תחת יחי פסות הדור והבס לוי לאינטו ודן בנודיה נעלוסים ביבום בין כסף ונזום בין תפשיטים במונה דלבושה בשימוש דירה בשימוש דרסק וקיבל לו רב שיחי חסן דינן במאה סקוקים כסף צורף בצורף רב דובר שיחי חסן דינן ויסף להם יולד מאה סקוקים כסף צורף אחרים כנגדה שכר כמסיים סקוקים כסף צורף וכך אומר רב דובר שיחי חסן דינן אחרי שתקתוק לדור בנדוד לדור כסף לדור קבילה סולי ועל ירסה בסויר להספרה מכל שפר רק מחוסים כקניונים ביסלי פרס כל שמיו וכמוי דורסי לנומי מקנה מחוסים ביסלי נחייס ולוסי נחייס כולני נחויים הרבויים לפריים מנהיים שתקסוף תדון נדון ידור כסף תדון מנועים אפילו מגלמוי דור כתחוי וחיה בסחי מנהים מדינן ולעולם מחייס וחיימה שתקסוף תדון נדון ידור כסף תדון koppel op de dubbelshare Hassan Dinan kachem kol shit ksuras de saftet de naginen de leke asmacht op de leke tot de stoor. Kanine men bedo man nachem Efraim shit Hassan Dinan de mos Chaim Mushke basraf Chaim Avraham shit khapsut da. Ba kol ma beskotsu de kosu mfurish leil Mona de Koshel and Miknebe, Hakel Shola, the Kayim Noom, Leben Abram Chaim Alevi, Noom Yaakov Neshem, and Hershel Zebe.
We'd like to call upon Rabbi Noach Kosovsky to share some words of blessing with Chaya and Doby.
What can I say? It's a beautiful day to have a Jewish wedding. Nothing better. Forget the rain, forget the weather. How beautiful is it to stand here? Can you hear me? How beautiful is it to stand here with our community, with our friends from Chicago, the Chotanim, and of course the Chassan and the Kala, Doby and Chaya. What a beautiful thing it is. Today is a very special day. They're establishing an eternal bond. A bond that's eternal, that lasts forever. By virtue of the fact that, God willing, they should be blessed. But Bana Chaim Zainer Vicha, with children, children that will be raised in an environment of Torah, mitzvahs, based upon the teaching of Hasidus. Today is Yom Hilula, a wedding. It's also what we refer to as the Yom Hilula of the Rashbi, the day that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the Kabbalist, who brought down the teachings of the inner levels of the Torah, the previous of Torah to this world, he illuminated the world with spirituality. He called this day, the day that he passed away, Lag BaOmer, he called it my day of celebration, my wedding day, because he was united eternally for the rest of his life, the rest of his spiritual life with God. Yom Hilula, the wedding day, the day of celebration, great celebration. His life was dedicated to illuminating the world with spirituality, to bringing harmony between heaven and earth, between the spiritual and the physical. This is a special day that you, Doby, Dober, Chaya Mushka, Chaya, you're getting married, you're making this eternal bond, and it's very, very special that this is a special day because his life and this day of his passing, Lag BaOmer, was something that brought an eternal connection between him and God. And likewise, for your wedding day, the fact that you're getting married on Lag BaOmer, is a very special time. You're taking the significance and the importance of this day of Lag BaOmer, and hopefully you should bring this into your marriage. You should be able to follow what the Rashbi did, the significance of Lag BaOmer, connecting heaven and earth, the Gashmis and the Ruchnis, the spiritual and the physical, through your marriage, through raising a family, God willing, that Judaism, Yiddishkeit, Torah mitzvahs, and Hasidus is of prominence and importance. Chaya, you were raised here, you grew up in this community. How special it is that your wedding celebration is right here. The place where your parents, Chaim and Rachaleah, have dedicated their lives to the shleichus of the Rebbe, to fulfill what the Rebbe wanted and to bring people to this community closer to God, to bring goodness to this community, that people should grow and become special and feel holiness in their lives. This is what your mother and father have dedicated their lives to, and you grew up in this environment. The dedication to the Rebbe and the Rebbe's shlichus. So it's my only hope and prayer that you should continue the change. You should continue the next generation. The Hasidus, the dedication to the Rebbe, bringing your parents a nachas ruach, a great pride and joy, Jewish pride and joy, and of course the Rebbe, bringing the Rebbe pride and joy in your home, like you will be establishing going forward. It's a tradition that 3 generations of the neshamas of the departed souls are here at the wedding, bestowing upon you the brachas of a binyan adiyad, and you said, you say that to a mitzvah. But not only that, Rabbi Doby Edelman, who dedicated his life for 65 years to this community, to the people in the community, to this meister, to this institution, he considered all of your family as his grandchildren too. So I'm sure he is here giving his brachas to you. There should be a binyan adi'at, and you said I say it to the mitzvah. I just hope and pray that we should have a lot of nachas from you, your parents, of course the Rebbe. We should illuminate the world. It should be a special day, a Yom Hilula, for your entire marriage, bringing goodness and happiness and, God willing, children and children's children
that will continue in the ways of Torah and Mitzvah and of Chassidus, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. It should all be Matam Esar Tzvachim down here in this physical world.
We will now sanctify this marriage and new home with 7 powerful blessings. The first 2 blessings, which note that all was created in God's honor, will be recited by Rabbi Yechiel Kosofsky, Hollywood, Florida, a brother of the bride. The first 2 blessings. The third blessing, which thanks God for creating man, will now be recited by Rabbi Moshe Markowitz, Associate Rabbi of Congregation B'nai Reuven in Chicago, and a friend of the groom. The third blessing. Amen. The sixth blessing. Grant abundant joy to these loving friends as you gladdened your creations in the Garden of Eden. Blessed are you who gladdens the groom and bride. For this blessing, we call upon Rabbi David Abba Mochkin, a shliach of the Rebbe in Rochester, New York, and an uncle of the bride.
Samach tisamach reim ahuvim ki samecha kol yitzircha b'gan eden mikedem baruch atah Adonai nisameach choson v'chalo.
For the seventh and final blessing brings the ceremony to the height of joy with prayers of love, friendship, peace, and joyfulness. The blessing concludes with a prayer. Let that speedily be heard in the cities of Yehuda and the streets of Yerushalayim, the sounds of joy, the sound of happiness, the sound of the groom, and the sound of the bride. This final blessing will now be recited by Rabbi Yitzchak Wolf, a shliach of the Rebbe and dean of the Seymour J. Abrams Cheder Lubavitch Hebrew Day School in Skokie, Illinois.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bara sasim v'simcha, chosan v'chala, gila v'ina ditza v'chedva, ava v'yachva, shalom v'reyos. V'heira, Adonai Eloheinu yishama b'ari Yehuda, u'v'chutzes Yerushalayim, kel sasei v'kel simcha, kel chosan v'kel kala, kel mitzales chasadim mechupasan, u'neyorim imishtei nigunasan, v'chato Adonai nisameach chasan im hakala.
At the height of our joy, the groom breaks a glass to remember that Yerushalayim is not complete. The temple is not here, and Mashiach has not yet arrived. We hope and pray that this joyous day will lead us to even a greater joy with the arrival of Mashiach.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Chassan and Kala, Doby and Chaya and Manuel! Show my ho, ho, ho. Ayo, you show my biore hudo, my uvehuto is shloim. Koil so so me koil sinecho, koil khoso, koil kalo me hiro, you show my biore hudo, my uvehuto is shloim. Koil so so me koil sinecho, koil khoso me koil kalo. No, you show mama your reyudo. Ayu vechutzoy shir shloi. Koil so so koil simecho. Koil choso koil kalo. Yosis, yosis la ay yosis. Yosis, yosis la hay yosis. Malay khere goy kim sois. Kitsus go was khoso na kalo. Ben shloi ma bliore ya gai brach biyom optat. Ben shloi ma bliore ya gai ai ve ye biyom adio. Mi no hora da seyores de fono mi yuti. Biyom ma po la hengo ai ai ve ye biyom ya nino rahamono de onei spirei libo biyom ya nino. Hey, come on, no day, on the land. Oi, be a day, do. Come on, no day, on the land. Oi, be a no. Come on, no day, on the libo. Mio, boy, on the no, boy, on the no. Come on, no day, on the libo. Oh, boy, on the no, boy, on the no. On the day. mazel tov. Mazel tov. Ay, rakamono, ne desgire libo, no san Hashem lochem, veim ladas, einayim lidois, ve'aznayim ligishmoya, hey lai lai lai, ay tere lai la 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 la, tere lai lai lai, ay tere lai la 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 la, ay Baruch Hashem Elokei Yisroel. Mino voy no me ho hoy lo por Hashem Elokei Yisroel. Mino voy no me hoy lo me ah ho ay masai go siman dich shey putz meine sefer gut so mosai go siman the shame for two, Mosai, go Sima, lift the shame for two, Shubo, Hashem Adovosui, making no him, Allah Bodecho, Sabenu, my boy, Kerras, the Provirane, no Venus, Miracle, you may do, the Shubo, Hashem Adovosui, making no him, Allah Bodecho, Sabenu, my boy, Kerras, the Provirane, no Venus, Miracle, you may do. Nirano, Benismero, before you may do. Nirano, Benismero, before you may do. You know, way I love the call, so Mother combination. You know, I'm a delicate. Oh, you know, way I love the call, so Mother combination. Campo from the Bogatabo, I yet, Campo from the Bogatabo, I Away, I love all the Mador Chol B'Nehe Vino Yam Hashem B'Lekeinu V'Leinu U'Maaseh Yodeh B'Meinu Koinenu V'Leinu U'Maaseh Yodenu Koinenu U'Maaseh Yodeh B'Meinu Koinenu V'Leinu U'Maaseh Yodenu Koinenu Ho 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 Betsei soy mi mezcla anashim noy oy beshonoy veli vega שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה והנה נקם אחד משתי עיניים נקם אחד משתי עיניים בפרשתי אנחנו אוהבים אותך, הקדוש ברוך הוא, אנחנו אוהבים אותך. מבטחוי אורך הגבר אשר יבטח השם נאו השם מבטחוי Tiddle-la-la, tiddle-do-da-da-da-da, tiddle-la-la, tiddle-do-da-da-da, tiddle-la-la, ah-hi-la-la-la-la, ho-yo-yo-ay-la-la-la, tiddle-la-la, tiddle-do-da-da-da, la-la-la-la, yeah-la-la-la, tiddle-la-la, ah-hi-la-la-la-la.
Well, one thing that you noticed, all our guests, that this is definitely not Kansas Toto. Once had a guest who looked around and said, gee, says, it looks like they roll up the sidewalks here at 7 p.m. and put them away till the morning. There was traffic before on the road, but you go out tonight, there's not going to be. So unless there's an event at LYA or Beis Medrash Lubavitch Long Meadow, then yes, the Rebbe's Beis Medrash. Then the things are happening here. Well, it says that we talk about Kala Nova Chasuda at a wedding. I want to talk about a special relationship that I have with my daughter Chaya. For many years, we didn't always live down the block. For many years, we lived 2 miles away. David Grinker spent and Bela spent Shabbos with us at the old house. And we had a 45-minute walk. And from the time she was 4 years old, Chaya walked with me to shul. And she held my hand to shul, home from shul. She owned my hand. It was during that time that I would tell stories from the Baal Shem Tov. And from that, I ended up writing the book much, much better. But this is from the time that she was 4 till she was about 14 or 15 years old. 2.5 years ago, Chaya and I began to study together on Simchas Torah. We did Nach Yomi, that was a Morashir that was compiled by Pini Lu. And every day we studied about one parak of Navi and one parak of Ksuvim, starting on Simchas Torah, and by next year, Shmini Atzeres, we finished the entire Nach. And I could tell she provided the discipline to force me to sit down and learn every evening. And when we finished, we knew we had to do something else. So for the last 1.5 years, we've been learning Medrash Rabbah from the Art Scroll. And we finished Sefer Bereshis, and we're now in the Megillas. We've done some of the Megillas. We're in the middle. We'll continue Amir Hashem, and we will. And then when we finish Megillas, we'll go on to Shema Sanan. One of the things that we learned together, it was quite a while ago, but it says Hashorei B'lai Isha. That he lives B'li Toiv, B'li Ezer, B'li Toiv, B'li Simcha, B'li Bracha, B'li Kapara. If someone is not married, he's missing out on goodness, he's missing out on support, he's missing out on gladness, on blessing, and on atonement. And other Amoraim add, he's also missing out on shalom, on peace, that he's not a complete person, memait esadmus, and one more that escapes me this moment. And I will say that therefore I can assure that for Doby that Chaya will bring all of these into your life. Goodness, toiv, goodness, support, Ezer, and Simcha, and Bracha, and Kapara, and also Shalom. And having met you, I feel that the two of you are very much alike, and you also bring. In addition, the last few years, Chaya has been working at a large employer in town, the largest, at Mass Mutual. And while she was there, she made a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. But most people in this area, in their lifetime, will never meet a Jew who is Shomer Torah Mitzvahs. And to meet someone, and for Chaya to bring to work with her stanzas of tznius and her work habits and her commitment to Torah mitzvahs is something that made a strong impression on them. In fact, a few of her fellow employees were here at the chuppah. So Chaya, to you I want to say that you have strong leadership qualities. You've grown up in a town with a very small frum community, but you're going to a place with a very large community, and I'm sure that there you will carry also the leadership that you've shown here, and you'll settle in. It's very different, but together with Doby, that the two of you will not only build a house on the foundations of Hasidus, Yerushalayim, but also that the two of you will serve as role models and take leadership roles in the frum community and in the community of Anash in West Rogers Park in Chicago. Did everyone get to? Also very important to mention, my brother mentioned at the chuppah, but I do want to say that we've been very lucky that my Shver Alav Shalom lived nearby, spent a lot of time with us, and had a very strong relationship with my children, Mr. Moshe Brown, and what his impact continues. My own parents, which are the visitors from Chicago, the visitors that you know so well, Yitzchak and Raitza Kasavsky, and we just had my father's yard site recently. We're still in the year for my mother, and what they did for the community there, a few years ago we had them for 2 summers staying at our house, and it was a big bracha for us, and I'm very glad that they got to meet our community and also have that connection with my children. And finally, I do want to give a big acknowledgement to my mother-in-law, to Joanne Brown, who is so much a part of our family, so much a part of our lives. The kids can't find anything at our house. They go there for breakfast, they go to Doby for lunch, and much, much more. It's not something we take for granted. I meet people with issues in their family for one reason or another. So, you want to speak? So the fact that Doby lives right nearby and spends every Shabbos with us, and much more than that. Anything we run out of, we always run over to Doby and pick up. So thank you very much, Doby Brown. And it's a huge blessing for our family. Thank you. Did everyone have dessert? I'll get you one. And so then in that case we'll go on to benching. Rabbi Shimon Tzadikai, B'schuli Sharei Tzedek Avayva Maideya, B'schuli Sharei Tzedek Avayva Oidek Elochovratano Elaikai, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Chovratano Elaikai, Rabbi Shimon Tzadikai.
כן לא תמיד הכל בחוץ ובהיר, לרוח שר וסופה קרה, תזכור ותתחזק, אני איתך, תחזיק חזק על הקטן שלי. כן לא תמיד הכל בחוץ בהיר, ורוח שר וסופה קרה, תזכור ותתחזק, אני איתך, תחזיק חזק על הקטן שלי. פסחו בחוכמה וסוער אז חסד על שונו, צויפיו הליכו אסבייסו ולכם עצלוס לא יסויכם. פסחו בחוכמה וסוער אז חסד על שונו, צויפיו הליכו אסבייסו ולכם עצלוס לא יסויכל. איי 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 אשת חיל ממצא ורחוק מפנינים מחם. איי 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 בטח בלב בעלה ושאלה לו Baruch atah Adonai, haaretz
Did you pinch my gargle?
Hey, the Lord, He gave him one day by saying, "He does must be on one son, but I can't receive that one. Never had an enemy
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shakol baruch b'chvodo.
Amen.
That's Chaya.
Number 2.
Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer ha'adam.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yotzar es Sodom b'tzalmon tzalem demustav nisoi v'hiskin loi mimenu binyan adei Baruch atah Adonai yotzer hadam.
Amen.
So it's Tassis, it's Agila, Korah, Kibbutz B'nai, Soicha, V'simcha, Baruch atah Adonai, Mesameach, Tzion V'moneo.
Kisamecha Chayitzilcha Began Eden Mikadem Baruch atah Adonai Mesameach Chasan V'chala.
Asher baras asayin v'simcha chasan v'chala chasan v'chala Gila arina di'itza v'chedva v'yachma Shalom v'reyos Meher Adonai Eloheinu Yishama B'arei Yehuda U'v'chotzos Yerushalayim Kol asasoyin v'kol asimcha Kol achasan v'kol akalo Kol amitzalais chasan mechupasam Uniyarim imishtei niginasam Baruch atah Adonai Mesameach chasan imakalo
I don't.